Is your refrigerator running, but the food inside is still warm? Maybe the freezer isn't getting cold enough. Drinks aren't staying chilled, or you're noticing that the refrigerator seems to be working normally, but the temperature just isn't right. Before you call a technician or start thinking about replacing your refrigerator, there are several important things you can check first. In this video, we're going to go through 7 things you must check when your refrigerator is not cooling properly. We'll start with the easiest checks and gradually move toward the symptoms that can tell you much more about what's actually happening inside the refrigerator. And make sure you stay until number 7, because the frost pattern on the evaporator coil can give you a very useful clue about the cooling system. Let's get started. Number 1, check the refrigerator temperature. The first thing to check is something very simple, the actual temperature inside the refrigerator. Don't rely only on the number displayed on the control panel. A refrigerator may show a normal setting, but the actual temperature inside could be much warmer. For a typical refrigerator compartment, the target temperature is around 37 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 3 degrees Celsius. The freezer is generally around 0 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 18 degrees Celsius. To check the actual temperature, place an appliance thermometer inside the refrigerator compartment. Leave it there for several hours so you get a more accurate reading. Don't place the thermometer directly next to the air outlet, because that can give you a misleading reading. Instead, place it somewhere around the middle of the refrigerator compartment. Also check the freezer temperature. If the freezer is cold but the refrigerator section is warm, that's an important clue. It could indicate an airflow problem, a blocked vent, a fan issue, or a problem with the system that moves cold air from the freezer into the refrigerator compartment. Before making any repairs, make sure the temperature control hasn't accidentally been changed. Also check that the refrigerator isn't overloaded. If food is blocking the air vents, cold air may not circulate properly. So our first check is simple. Measure the real temperature, check the settings, and make sure the air vents aren't blocked. Now, let's move on to the first component that actually moves the cold air. Number 2, check the evaporator fan. The evaporator fan is extremely important. In many refrigerators, the evaporator coil produces the cold air, while the evaporator fan circulates that cold air throughout the freezer and refrigerator compartments. If this fan isn't working, the refrigerator may not cool properly even if the compressor is running. So how can you check it? First, open the freezer door. Depending on the refrigerator model, the fan may stop when the door is opened. Look for the door switch. On many models, pressing and holding the door switch can tell the refrigerator that the door is closed. If the fan is designed to run under these conditions, you should be able to hear it operating. Listen for a smooth airflow sound. If you hear nothing or you hear clicking, grinding, squealing, or intermittent noises, the evaporator fan may have a problem. You can also check whether air is moving through the vents. If the freezer is cold but very little cold air is reaching the refrigerator section, airflow could be the issue. However, don't immediately assume the fan motor is bad. Ice buildup around the fan can also stop it from turning. This is why we need to inspect the evaporator area later in the diagnosis. And remember, never put your fingers into a moving fan or try to bypass safety switches unless you are properly trained. If the fan isn't operating correctly, that gives us an important clue. But there's another fan we need to check. Number 3, check the condenser fan. Now, let's move to the condenser fan. This fan is usually located near the compressor and condenser coils, commonly underneath the refrigerator or at the rear. Its job is to move air across the condenser area and help release heat from the refrigeration system. When the condenser fan isn't working, the refrigerator can struggle to cool. The compressor may become very hot, and the refrigerator may run for long periods without reaching the correct temperature. Before checking this area, unplug the refrigerator if you're going to physically inspect or clean around the fan. Look for dust, dirt, pet hair, or anything that could prevent the fan from spinning freely. If the fan blades are dirty, carefully clean the area. If the fan is accessible and you know how to safely observe it during operation, check whether it spins smoothly. A fan that doesn't spin, starts and stops, makes grinding noises, or struggles to rotate may need further diagnosis. But there's another common problem right next to this fan, and it's one that many homeowners completely overlook. Number 4, check for dirty condenser coils. Your refrigerator needs to get rid of the heat it removes from inside the cabinet. That's where the condenser coils come in. Over time, dust and dirt can build up on these coils. If the coils become heavily clogged, heat cannot escape efficiently. The refrigerator may then have to run for much longer periods to maintain the correct temperature. In severe cases, it may struggle to cool at all. So take a look underneath or behind your refrigerator, depending on the design. If you see a thick layer of dust covering the condenser area, it's time for a cleaning. Before cleaning, disconnect the refrigerator from power. Use a suitable refrigerator coil brush or vacuum to carefully remove dust and debris. Don't damage the wiring, fan, or other components while cleaning. Once the area is clean, restore power and allow the refrigerator some time to stabilize. Don't expect the temperature to drop instantly. A refrigerator can take several hours to return to normal operating temperature after a problem. Cleaning the condenser coils is simple maintenance, but it can make a significant difference when the refrigerator is struggling to cool. Now, let's check something that costs nothing to inspect but can cause major cooling problems. Number 5, check the door gasket and air leaks. Take a close look at the rubber gasket around the refrigerator door. The gasket creates a seal between the door and the cabinet. If that seal is damaged, dirty, loose, or deformed, warm air can continuously enter the refrigerator. At the same time, cold air can escape. That means the refrigerator has to work harder to maintain temperature. Start by visually inspecting the entire gasket. Look for cracks, tears, gaps, or areas where the rubber isn't touching the cabinet properly. Clean the gasket with a soft cloth and mild soapy water. Make sure there isn't food residue or dirt preventing the door from sealing. You can also perform a simple paper test. Place a piece of paper between the gasket and the refrigerator cabinet. Close the door and then try pulling the paper out. You should feel some resistance. Repeat the test around different areas of the door. If the paper slides out easily from one particular section, that area may not be sealing properly. Also check whether the refrigerator is level and whether the door is closing correctly. Sometimes the problem isn't the gasket itself. The door may be misaligned, overloaded, or not closing completely. A small air leak might seem insignificant, but over time it can cause poor cooling, excessive condensation, and increased energy consumption. Now, let's move to one of the most important checks. Number 6, is the compressor running? The compressor is basically the heart of the refrigerator's cooling system. It's responsible for circulating refrigerant through the sealed refrigeration system. If the compressor isn't running, the refrigerator cannot produce normal cooling. But how can you tell if it's running? Stand near the refrigerator and listen carefully. You may hear a low humming sound coming from the compressor area. You may also feel a slight vibration. However, be careful. The compressor can become extremely hot during normal operation. Don't touch it unnecessarily. You may also notice that the compressor starts and stops periodically. That's normal. The problem is when the compressor never starts, repeatedly clicks on and off, or runs continuously without achieving proper cooling. If you hear a click followed by silence every few minutes, there could be a problem involving the starting system or another component. If the compressor is running almost constantly but the refrigerator remains warm, that gives us another important clue. It could indicate airflow problems, excessive frost buildup, a dirty condenser, or potentially a sealed system issue. At this stage, don't immediately replace the compressor. A compressor can appear to be the problem when another component is actually causing the refrigerator to operate incorrectly. And this brings us to our final check. This is one of the most useful visual clues you can get when diagnosing a refrigerator cooling problem. Number 7, check the frost or ice pattern. If you're comfortable performing a visual inspection, the evaporator frost pattern can tell you a lot. The evaporator coil is where the refrigerant absorbs heat from inside the refrigerator. When the system is operating correctly, you will typically see a fairly even frost pattern across the appropriate portion of the evaporator coil, depending on the refrigerator design and operating conditions. But if you see heavy ice covering the entire evaporator area, that can indicate a defrost problem. A refrigerator with a failed defrost system can develop so much ice that air can no longer move properly through the evaporator. The result? The freezer may still feel cold, but the refrigerator compartment can become warm. If you see a thick layer of snow or ice around the evaporator, Don't simply remove the ice and assume the problem is fixed. The ice may come back if the underlying defrost problem hasn't been corrected. On the other hand, if only a small section of the evaporator has frost while the rest remains completely clear, that can indicate a different type of problem. Potential causes can include restricted refrigerant flow, low refrigerant charge, or a sealed system issue. However, frost patterns can vary depending on the refrigerator design, operating conditions, and where the coil is located. So this is a clue, not a final diagnosis. If you're not experienced with refrigeration systems, don't attempt to work on the sealed refrigerant circuit yourself. That work should be handled by a qualified refrigeration technician. Let's quickly review the 7 checks. Number 1, check the actual refrigerator and freezer temperatures. Number 2, make sure the evaporator fan is operating and that airflow isn't blocked. Number 3, check the condenser fan for proper operation. Number 4, inspect and clean dirty condenser coils. Number 5, inspect the door gasket and look for air leaks. Number 6, listen for compressor and determine whether it's operating normally. And number 7, inspect the evaporator frost pattern for clues about airflow, defrost, or sealed system problems. These checks can help you narrow down the problem before spending money on unnecessary parts or repairs. But here's the important part. A refrigerator that isn't cooling can have several different causes, and fixing the wrong component can waste both time and money. In part 2, we're going deeper. We'll look at the defrost system, thermistors and temperature sensors, the compressor start relay and overload, compressor symptoms, and the signs that may point to a refrigerant leak or sealed system problem. We'll also put everything together and explain how to determine whether the problem is related to the fan, defrost system, compressor, or sealed refrigeration system. So if your refrigerator is still not cooling properly, make sure you watch part 2. If this video helped you understand your refrigerator better, give a like and subscribe to Easy Solutions for more practical appliance repair and troubleshooting videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.